What's up guys, it's Danye West here, and welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of my 3-part series for Assassin's Creed Odyssey's advanced tips and tricks. We will be covering human and ship combat in this video. The first portion of the video will be quickly summarizing all enemy types, what weapons they use, best way to fight them, etc. Afterwards, I'll show footage of me clearing out a fort, while discussing tactics on how to best remain stealthy whilst clearing a whole bunch of enemies. Finally, I'll touch base on the different ships of the game, how their attacks work, and how best to combat them. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, quick preface before the enemy type segment. Yes, I took photos of the enemies with the in-game camera. They are terrible, so bear with me. And I also try my best to record each enemy type being fought and bested to the best of my abilities authentically in-game. Also wanted to add, this section also does not include bosses, mercenaries, or polemarchs, as these guys are their own different beast and are not the common enemies that you will face in around the map. So just keep that in mind. Alright, let's speedrun this thing. Alright, so we're going to start off in categories. So across multiple factions, these enemy types behave similarly. Starting with light soldiers, aka shield guardians, guardians, thugs, or priests. These are your most common enemy type in the game. Most of them use swords, Athenians use shields, Spartan light soldiers use spears. Easiest way to kill them. They're the easiest melee enemy, so kill however, for the most part. Weapon type doesn't matter. For the Athenians that use shields, break the shield with a heavy attack, and then kill however you want. Heavy soldiers, used by both Sparta and Athens. They're the guys that have armor and use swords. So these guys have a very common battle tactic where they will try to jump back when you swing at them and then try to attack again. These are the first enemy that you kind of encounter that you need to time your parries on, so just keep that in mind. And yeah, they're still pretty easy, very low health, easy to cut through however you choose. Brutes of Fanatics, these guys are your big boys, used by both Sparta and Athens, and Fanatics are the followers of Ares, big guys. They use heavy blades primarily, so the best way to attack them is with fast attacking weapons such as swords and daggers. By the time they've swung once at you, you've hit them 5 times, and you will do the damage quicker, killing them faster. Also, timing parries is important for these guys. If you time the parry good just the one time, easy kill. So, also avoid, don't get hit by them. By logic, heavy blades do a lot of damage, so just be careful of that. Otherwise, pretty easy enemy. These guys are the Spartan Strategos, the Enforcers, and the Protectors. These are also big guys, however, they are the elite of the big guys. So they are common to use heavy blades and blunts also, but they also have armor and shields. So these guys are pretty much the highest health guys in the game for the regular enemies. And the best way to do it again is to break the shield. And then once again, fast attacking weapons. And avoid their overpowered attacks because they do a lot of damage. And they use them very often. So just be careful of that. Strategos and Spartan hoplites are next on the list. They're essentially heavy soldiers that just use spears and shields. And the main thing to watch out for these guys is their long reach with the spears. That can get quite annoying very fast. My best suggestion is to break the shield again and to parry, and to watch out for their spitting attacks because they can get very annoying very fast. And once again, use your fast weapons to your advantage because the spears take a while to load up. Next category, archers and marksmen. The easiest enemy to kill. They have no armor. They have the lowest health out of everybody in the entire game. So kill them with whatever. You can just put a single headshot to the head with an arrow. Can kill them pretty easily. Marksmen can be a bit harder because they actually do use a sword as well as their arrows. Marksmen can also multi-shot. And they have additional abilities as like that as well. So be careful. Finally, we've got the rogues, elders, and scions. These are your fast attacking enemies that use daggers primarily. Elders use a spear. These guys are your rapid attack people. They are probably the most annoying enemies to take out, particularly rogues because they use poison. For these guys, keep your distance. Use those long-range weapons such as spears, staffs, and time dodges because these guys attack very quickly, but if you time that perfect dodge, they have very little health. So use that to your advantage. Now that we've gone through all the enemy types, it's pretty clear that you do need a long-range weapon and a short-range weapon in order to handle all enemies. You unlock the ability to have 2 weapons from level 15 onwards, but prior to that, I would start with a sword or a spear, because it's really easy to button mash while you're getting used to the game. For me, the ultimate combo is a sword and a staff, like you can see here, or a sword and a spear. Heavy weapons are fun, but a bit too slow for my liking. As always, play how you want. When in combat, shooting enemies with your bow is a great way to gain back adrenaline when you're low in health, and you don't want to risk dying to get more adrenaline. And as cowardly as it sounds, running and hiding into a bush is also a quick and easy way to gain your health back and can allow you to use assassination abilities again. Once that question mark appears above the enemy's head, you can use them again. Okay, so for this next portion, I'm going to take you through a fort clearing gameplay and the tips and tricks that I do whilst I'm playing, just to show you guys how I like to clear forts. Here we go. Okay, so when you're trying to be stealthy in forts, the main tips that I would start with is doing it at night. So the reason you do it at night is less enemies are patrolling, some of them are actually asleep, and you can take them out while they're sleeping, so less enemies is always better for you. It can also help if you have the Stealth Master ability, which is a passive ability. Means that you do more damage at night for your assassinations, and you also got a smaller detection radius, meaning that you can get up close to the enemies without them actually spotting you. The next tip that I always like to do is get to the top of the fort, so in terms of the towers or the walls, and start around the perimeter and pick off easy targets. Start at the top and work your way down. Enemies never look up, so use that to your advantage. Always disable the beacon. So make sure that you mark the beacon when you're doing your preliminary marking, where you mark everyone. Mark where the beacon is. Grab that first. It saves having an additional 7 or so enemies arriving if you get detected and they actually successfully light the beacon. So it's just that little bit of extra nest egg that you can have and a bit more confidence that you can have that even if you do enter open combat, shouldn't be too much of an issue. Save the easy soldiers to assassinate if you need more adrenaline. Critical assassinate everyone else. Unless you have an insane build like me, you won't be able to one-shot anything above a light soldier with just a regular assassination. Critical assassinations use 1 adrenaline bar, so keep this in mind and save your light soldiers for an adrenaline refill before going back. Save the polemarch till last, or the strongest enemies till last. You're almost guaranteed to have to go into open combat with them, and he will draw attention when he does because he makes a lot of noise, and he will be a tough fight for you. You don't want to do that with multiple people around. Most forts have tons of bushes and tall grass for you to hide in. These can be storage spots for bodies using the whistle mechanic. So obviously luring them in and then taking them out. No one will see them. So that's a really, really good way of doing it. Obviously another tip is try to take the path less traveled. So avoid walking where guards are almost guaranteed to walk just in case you do get stuck. And probably my best tip of all is be patient. Wait for guards to stop walking. Wait for guards to do a bit of a walk around so you can kind of understand where their movements are. Wait for guards to separate if they're talking in a group. You just have to be patient if you're trying to be stealthy, and patience is key. That's all I'm going to say. Obviously, make sure that you've got the best assassin build that you can for the level that you are to get as much assassin damage as possible to increase your likelihood of succeeding in your assassinations, and you'll have a far better time when clearing forts. Another tip that I forgot to mention is the kind of abilities that you want when clearing forts. Rush assassination is a no-brainer. It allows you to chain up to 4 people depending on how leveled up it is, and only uses 1 adrenaline bar. So technically you can kill up to 4 people off just 1 adrenaline bar super efficiently, plus you do more damage, so you might be able to actually take out those stronger enemies. The other one that I would suggest is Sixth Sense, which is a hunter ability, and essentially it gives you slow motion time for up to 6 seconds if you get spotted. This is so clutch for fort clearing because it allows you to quickly kill the person spotting you before they have a chance to put you into open combat and to alert others. So that's really handy if you're inexperienced and you get a little bit impatient and you just go for it. That will save you countless times. So that was just my final tip there. There are 4 different ship types in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. There are pentacanters, biremes, triremes, and heavy triremes. A pentacanter's tactic is to ram and run, rinse and repeat. So the best tactic for them is to try to sink them before they get close. Fire arrows also disable their charge once they get to full heat. Biremes shoot 4 volleys of arrows from long range while standing still. So best to combat these guys, row towards them at full speed, brace to avoid damage, and let your momentum smash into them with your ram before using javelins to take them out at close range. Triremes use similar tactics to pentacanters, where they'll try to ram and get in close, but they always use long range tactics as well. So the best way to combat them is to use your ram to your advantage, get in close, similar tactics as before with the pentacanters. And finally, heavy triremes will use javelins primarily. They're essentially just sponges. They have tons of health, so your best option is to just hit them with everything you've got, and just make sure to brace when they throw javelins. Otherwise, they're very slow and pretty easy to take out. It just takes a while. So in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the water is dynamic, meaning that the higher the waves, the less momentum you will have when trying to ram a ship. So keep this in mind and just make sure that you understand where the waves are moving to get the best momentum for your rams. When shooting arrows and javelins, aim for the hull, similar to Black Flag. It will open up weak spots for extra damage when you hit them again. Also, like the Black Flag mechanic, you can board ships in the middle of a battle to gain health back. This is especially needed for higher difficulties, or when you're taking on like 10 ships at once. Fire arrows are an underutilized mechanic in this game, but I would recommend saving your fire arrow adrenaline for one big round of volleys, as it takes time for the flames to build up to disable ships. Shooting 1 or 2 volleys is absolutely useless in my opinion. And finally, the better your lieutenants are, the easier the shipboarding is. You can see how good a potential enemy could be for your ship by highlighting them with Icaros. They're classified in commons, rares, epics, and legendaries, exactly the same as gear. I would recommend mercenaries or polemarchs, as they're the best for combat on ship. And that concludes part 2 of the Assassin's Creed Odyssey's tips and tricks. Next video will be about RPG mechanics and build tips. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and have a good rest of the day, and peace out.